It's that time, guys. We are live now here on Everything Phoenix YouTube live. My favorite time of the week. It's another Monday, guys. Monday's the best day of the week. Why? Because it's a new week. It's full of opportunities and things that you can get done and achieve. And that's the attitude I think you need to have, or you should try to have, because it's the only positive way to look at it, guys. You have a choice, negative or positive. I choose positive because either way, I can be negative. No one's going to care. So let's choose positive and do our best. Now, we're going to talk about timing. Is there this window of opportunity with the housing market, given everything that's going on in our marketplace today, which is, by the way, quite a bit. A lot is going on the national scale with America and with the economy, and how's that fall down or trickle down to the Phoenix housing market and the Phoenix economy? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's what this show is about. We're going to dive right in. I'm going to share my screen, guys, give you data and facts, right? So you can have your own opinion, form your own opinion based upon that and not someone else's opinion, okay? Like mine, even mine, you should operate off the data and the facts. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. But before I do, if you don't mind, just, I don't know, let me know where you're watching from. Let us know. And if you're watching a replay, comment below, ask a question. Let's get some dialogue going, because we're going to pack this full of good information if you care at all about Phoenix real estate and some national economic news. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to dive in. All right, first and foremost, let's get this out of the way, okay? If you have been under a rock the last several days, you have no idea what we're talking about, but this is very important. Why? Because dock workers, the longshoremen strike is over, guys. Now, this was a strike that was part of the port strike for all the workers from the East Coast all the way down through the Gulf of Mexico and over to Texas, right? As ports come in, ships come in, they bring in their supplies from other countries around the world, and we need somebody to take those supplies off the ships and get them going to where they need to be. And that's how you get your Amazon package or your whatever package delivered to your front door or to your favorite local store. Okay, this would create a problem if there's no one there to work the docks. So there is a strike that lasted 3 days. And I tell you what, guys, this is not good timing for everything going on with Hurricane Helene and everything else happening in the world, or the country, I should say, today. And they got a deal worked out, a temporary deal through January 15th, which will allow those workers to go back to work. Now, that's going to get America through the election. It's going to get America through Christmas time. Two big events happening that this would play a major role if they were not working and continued to strike. So this is interesting, though, because here's why, guys. We're currently in this economy where we're trying to get rid of inflation. Okay, we're trying to get rid of inflation and fight it. We're at 2.5% according to the CPI, which seems higher than that, but somehow it's 2.5%. Rates came down in terms of the federal funds rate when the Fed dropped them a couple of weeks ago. But mortgage rates have done what? They have not gone down. They did for a little while until the announcement, and they have gone up a little bit ever since. What didn't help was the jobs report. But before we get there, we're going to go and finish this off, okay? Now, here's the only interesting thing to this. A person briefed on the agreement said the port sweetened their wage offer from about 50% over 6 years to a whopping 62%. Okay, now, guys, this is the interesting part, because if you want to talk about combating inflation, artificial wage growth, not organic wage growth through adding value to the marketplace. Artificial wage growth is a inflationary issue. It's a missile. I mean, this thing is an inflationary match, if you will. It will light the fire and stoke the inflation. The reason why is because businesses, they don't eat the additional cost of labor. They actually pass it on to the consumer. And if it gets passed on to the consumer, even though they are making more income, potentially has less because their dollar's worth less. So just a little side bit on inflation here. And this is a problem, guys, that we got to pay attention to and continue to monitor. Now, the markets, since this has been announced. This was good news, but the market since then, the jobs report has been announced last week, and it came in stronger than everyone anticipated. So now normally you would say, wow, that's really good. And it is good. That means jobs are being created. Okay. However, the downside is that in doing this, you now have a resilient economy to an extent, right? Because unemployment rate fell from 4.2% to 4.1% as 254,000 jobs were added to the economy. Okay. Now, right here, meanwhile, the unemployment rate fell 4.1 to 4.1% in August. Okay. And that is the headline. Now, that did this to interest rates. If you look at interest rates, you can see right here that you have a 30-year fix that's now at 6.2%. 6.2%, guys. Now, if you look back here, when the Fed cut the rates, it was as low as right here in the box, 6.14%. Okay. So now it has jumped up a half a percentage point because apparently the jobs in the economy are doing really well with all the additional jobs being created. But where are those jobs coming from? Into what sectors are they being created? That's a question I think we should ask. And if you look at the Bureau of Labor statistics, here you go. I mean, you got to look right here and you can see what's going on, guys. You have a month over month change of jobs. Look how many jobs were added in the private education and health services and leisure and hospitality. Okay. And then here's the other one that is not as great, in my opinion, government. Guys, government jobs are created through the taxpayer, which come from people earning income in the private sector and then obviously paying taxes. And then voila, you can create a government job that's funded by those taxpayer dollars. And so when you have a good amount, the third highest sector of jobs being created being government jobs, that means the government's getting more, it's getting bigger, but you also have more taxes that need to support that. And so when doing that, is that the best indicator of the private sector working out? Because at the end of the day, we're still a capitalistic society, right? An economy. The situation, I don't know. That's tough, right? And obviously, you guys can deduct 2 + 2 = whatever it equals. And there we go. But you have leisure hospitality jobs, which for the most part aren't the most highest paid jobs out of all the sectors that you see on this form right here today. Now, private education and health services, that can be decent. Obviously, health services can be very, very high paying jobs. So you have to just sit there and go, okay, what is the situation here with the sectors of where the jobs are being created? Now, if you go back 3 months, look at that. Government still is in that number 2 position. And obviously, leisure and hospitality is holding. Now, if you go 6 months, government is still the third highest sector of job growth. And if you go back a 12-month year-over-year change, the net change, government jobs are the second highest sector being created in our economy. Okay. Now, this cannot be sustainable. This cannot be sustainable, guys. You understand how this works. Okay. So now, why am I bringing you all this? I'm bringing you all this because to know how the micro economy of the Phoenix area is going to work, you need to know how the national economy is functioning at its current time. Because if it is functioning a certain way, that's going to have an effect on how our local economy here in Phoenix is going to work as well. It all works together, okay, through our national economy. So in this situation, you have government jobs, which are a big sector of our job creation, and that may not be the best indicator of a healthy economy because you want the private sectors, you want small business, you want big business to be able to create more and more jobs because that is showing they're having business growth. And if they're having business growth, they're pumping more and more widgets and money into the economy overall, creating a amazing synergy in that effect. So, okay, now we'll go more localized. Some of you guys are like, okay, Kelly, I get it, man. This is a lot. This is a economic news, but I want to know about Phoenix. Okay, well, I'm glad you asked because we're going to get to that right now. We're going to get to Phoenix and talk about how these things are affecting the Phoenix market. So let's go over to the Crawford report. Okay. Year over year, percent change in listings under contract. Guys, check this out. This is a positive sign. This is a good thing for the Phoenix market. You can see right here that towards the end of the year in October here, we had a change that was bumping around a negative percent growth when it comes to listings going under contract, right? Buyers actually purchasing properties. And all of a sudden, this past week or two, you had a huge jump to 13.6 in terms of the amount of listings going under contract. So the commentary here says we are up almost 14% over this time last year. This is really good. We have not seen a significant year-over-year increase for well over 3 years. So this is cause for celebration. Yay. Yay. Phoenix housing. Okay. The fourth quarter of 2024 should see an increase in closing rates, which is good news for agents and everyone else who works in the industry. Okay. And that also has a trickle down effect to all the other trades: general contractors, drywallers, roofers, plumbers, HVAC technicians, title companies, and the list goes on and on. Okay. While this is also good news for sellers, it is a heavily dampened by the fact that the supply of active listings is up 52% over last year. A lot more properties for sale. So there's no upward pressure on pricing except for a few isolated segments, such as the ultra luxury market. However, even that comparison is getting better since it was 62% at the end of July, guys. So right now, if you are a seller, you're not having a huge increase of your value of your house, which is, at the end of the day, for affordability, a good thing if you're looking to buy. But what does that open the door, or does it at all, for people looking to purchase a home right now? Does that open the door for someone looking to buy, maybe having this window of opportunity to purchase a property in Q4 of 2024? I'm glad you asked. Let's take a look. Okay. So now I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump in here. This article from the Phoenix Business Journal, which is a great article, by the way, that talks about the Goldilocks window for buying a Valley home. When will it open and close? There's a nice picture of a view out of a window. What does this mean? All right, here we go. The 30-year fixed mortgage averages 6.08%, which we saw it does not anymore, because now we are up to 6.61% as of today, right now, thanks to the jobs report. That was actually a good jobs report overall. The fourth quarter tends to be the best time to buy a home in Metro Phoenix. I'm going to repeat that slowly. The fourth quarter tends to be the best time to buy a home in Metro Phoenix. What quarter are we in right now, guys? Oh, we're in the fourth quarter right now. That's right. We're in October of 2024. This is a good thing, right? Your timing's perfect if you're tuning in today, watching this show, or on the replay. That's usually when there's a boost in supply without a corresponding boost in demand, said Tina Tambor, senior housing analyst for the Scottsdale-based Cromford Report. This year is similar in what we are seeing in terms of boosted demand, but since mortgage rates dropped below 6.5% for a hot minute, we have been hovering around 6.1 and 6.2% since September 11th. Buyer demand has picked up 11.5% from just 3 weeks ago, most notably between $300,000 and $800,000 price range, where mortgage rates are the most influential. Okay, so far, there is enough supply to handle the increased demand. The overall market remains in a balanced state with stable prices and attractive incentives for buyers. Guys, this is your window of opportunity. Once 2025 begins, we expect buyer demand to increase before peaking in the spring once again, like it almost always does every single year. Guys, our housing market in Phoenix is very cyclical in that nature. Okay. Last week, single-family home inventory increased from 11,735 to 11,213. Okay. The housing supply is at 3.6 months, up from 3.1 months last month. Okay. So it is up. Supply is increasing. Okay. Metro Phoenix had 22,000 active listings on the market. Okay. And the overall median home price, by the way, is $442,000 in Metro Phoenix, Greater Phoenix area, if you were wondering. All right, here we go. I love the questions, guys. If you have questions, go ahead and ask. Hello, don't you think they will inflate employment until November, and then we will start to see unemployment rise again post-election, and therefore rates going down? All right, KD0211. Great question. And short answer, yeah, I do. And here's why. Because here are the facts. I want to show you the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, which, by the way, I could go and show you another article that shows that the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS report that tracks all the jobs reports, et cetera, right now for the past like several months has been severely underfunded by government taxpayer dollars. So the staff has shrunken. And so now people are starting to question the credibility of the BLS because of things like that. And because several of the job reports that came out since January 2024 have actually changed 30 days later. It's changed, but no one talks about it. Why? Because there's a new jobs report that rolls out the next month. And all the markets are concerned about is the new jobs report. But yet they don't pay attention to the fact that the jobs report that came out last month just got changed and not for the better. So these are things that are really happening. You can just go back and look at the jobs report that were posted since January 24 on down. Then, as I showed you, I brought up the sectors. And if you look at the sectors, what matters is, is there a good blend, guys, of highly paid industries that are generally speaking more highly paid industries as opposed to lower paid industries, or private sector jobs or public sector jobs. And right now you have this overweighted blend of public sector jobs being created and the sectors that have more lower paying jobs, generally speaking, like hospitality. So it's a recipe that is not a good one, in my opinion. But all the markets do are look at is the total number of jobs created. They don't look at the breakdown of it. And I think, like anything else, like any headline of an article, you have to pull back the curtain and look behind it. You have to actually read part of the article, whatever the headline is, to see if anything was misconstrued because maybe it was just clickbait. So great question. I think it's a real one. It's a non-political question to an extent because what are the facts? And those facts were just laid out. So I do think that you could see something happening. Same as the dock workers strike, longshoremen strike, guys. You have this strike that it could cripple the economy, at least in the short term, and all of a sudden it went away. Now, if wages go up 64% or 62%, excuse me, for the longshoremen on the East Coast and South part of our shores, what's going to happen to the longshoremen on the West side, the dock workers on the West Coast? Because they just worked out a deal, apparently, my understanding is a few years ago, with their union and whatnot, and their raise was not 62% over the X amount of years. So now that they're seeing the East Coast get this, will they now strike until they get at least what the East Coast gets? Where does this stop, right? And so I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. Only time will tell. In the meantime, all we can do is navigate with the information we have at hand. And I think what we have at hand is a scenario for Phoenix housing alone, where you do have an opportunity. The reality is you have an opportunity to buy a house right now and get a really good negotiation package, if you will. If you have a good agent who knows how to weave those into the structure of a transaction, a deal. And I think there's a good opportunity. There just is. Could there be another good opportunity in 2025 based on how the economy goes, based on, the government and blah, blah, blah? Sure. There always could be. You don't know. No one can predict the future. But I think you always have to look at what's the best situation right now, given the information we have at hand. And that's where you make the best decision possible. So I'm going to share my screen and keep going, guys, because that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. But let's go back to this article. Okay. Talk about the fourth quarter. Okay. We know that what that entails, blah, blah, blah. But what else is going on? Okay. Here we go. This guy's opinion. This is a good op-ed because in Arizona, realtors' expertise, market value still matters. Well, for some, I think, right? Not all. But this is all I'm going to share in this article, okay? This guy did a survey, of Clever Real Estate Survey, that spoke with a mere 516 real estate agents about their views on the real estate market. And so it's interesting kind of what came out of this. But here's what the research found right here with their survey research and their stats that they researched. Home sellers who use an agent, now to argue a better agent or good agent, right, average $46,603 more dollars in profit than those who did not use an agent. In fact, those who sold without a realtor were 3 times more likely to say they lost money on their home sale than those who sold with a realtor. Now, that's interesting. The whole lost money thing is interesting too, because when did you buy your house and how did you turn them around and sell it right away? Like there's some things that even a great realtor just, probably can't help you with to an extent. But I love that number because it quantifies the value of hopefully a realtor, a good realtor, when selling your house. $46,000 across America, that's nothing to sneeze at. Okay. OKD02111. I totally agree. Following on your answer, should we not, I assume not, be waiting post-election to close and get better rates? Well, okay, so there's a saying out there that I hate. And the saying is, marry the house, date the rate. Okay. And what they're saying, guys, is that in this situation, you're just going to buy the house you want, get the house you want, get the best terms you can. And if rates go down in the future, just refinance. Well, okay. And you could do that. But there could be some external circumstances that maybe allow you not to do that. Like maybe the economy goes really in the tubes and you don't have the equity in your house to refinance and things of that nature, right? Also, or it could just stay the same or go up and you have the ability to refinance and everything's potentially hunky-dory. The great thing that you could do right now, which I'm a big fan of, is a interest rate buy down. That's what I'm a big fan of right now, because chances are rates will be less at some point in the next couple of years. That's probably because you look at the cyclical nature of rates, and it probably is going to happen, especially if the economy contracts at some point here, right? So that being said, you could get the house you want, not have to worry about competition very much, because most houses right now don't have multiple offers. And whatever rate you have that you are approved for, you could have the seller, not you, the seller, pay for a rate buy down of 1, 2, or even 3 years on that rate buy down. So what that looks like is this. Your interest rate that you're approved for is 6.5%. If we get the seller to pay for a 3-2-1 rate buy down in year 1, your rate would be 3.5%, 3 points off of 6.5. Year 2, 4.5%. In year 5, it'd be 5.5%. And then, of course, in year 4, it goes back up and resets to 6.5% for the remaining 26 years on your loan. But if you refinance at any point before then, not only will you take advantage of locking in for a 30-year fixed or 15-year fixed, or whatever you want, that lower rate, but you also will have a credit to use to offset any fees on that refinance cost that you didn't use up, because if you don't go the full term of 3 years on that rate buy down and you refinance in 18 months or year 2, then you have a credit left to use to offset the cost of the refinance, which could make your whole thing a really good scenario because it's zero money, blah, blah, blah. So that's something I would consider. What also could happen is that if you wait until next year, especially in Phoenix, we have a strong season in the spring. A lot of buyer demand flocks, money from out of state comes into state and things of that nature. And potentially if rates start to drop, then you could have a lot of buyers get off the fence and start buying property. And so it may be a little more challenging to negotiate a good deal or good terms for you at that time. So that's things to weigh and consider. But one thing I do know is that there's this old saying in real estate that I heard a long time ago that's fantastic, guys. And this is what it says. You don't wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and wait. Love that comment, because over time, yeah, in 1 to 2 years, could the market go down and you lose money or equity in the house? It could happen if you don't time it perfectly. But that's really hard to do, by the way. But what if you wait 10 years? What if you wait 7 years? What if you wait 15? What will the value of that house be? And I don't know anyone that ever said, I wish I wouldn't have bought that house 10 years ago. Okay. So that's my take on that. Now, back to the articles, and we'll finish this off and we'll bring this sucker home nice and strong. All right. Here's the next article. The Great Migration's lasting billion-dollar impact on Arizona. Guys, we now have more than 6,000 tax filers who relocated to Maricopa County, which is the greater Phoenix area, between 21 and 22, who boosted the region's wealth. This is very important. Okay, there's the map. Okay, arrows going everywhere. And then here you go. This is great. Maricopa County came in at number 10 on the list right here for the area within the U.S. that had the most wealth migration during COVID. Look here. Here's Maricopa County, Phoenix, Arizona, number 10. But if you were interested, here's the top 10 list. Polk County, Lakeland, Florida. Tampa, Florida. Las Vegas, Nevada. Houston, Dallas, Austin, Cape Coral, Fort Myers. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And then Phoenix, Arizona coming in at number 10, guys. So Phoenix was a big benefactor. But look at all these cities. All these southern cities were big benefactors of wealth moving around during COVID. So everybody went south, and these cities and states were pretty much all open for business for a long period of time, when other states or cities were shut down. So I think that matters as well. But now that's starting to change. In fact, people are starting to move around, and there's not really this huge migration only from northern to southern cities. There still is a huge migration to the south. Don't get me wrong, but check this out. Maricopa County was a hot spot, ranking number 1 by at least one metric. Columbus, Ohio, registered the largest gains during the second quarter of 2024 for wealth gain from outside money, outside cities going into a different city. So Columbus, Ohio, good job. You guys are doing some good things there, that sounds like. Okay. Now, next article. America's fastest selling housing markets. Where's your zip code fits in? We're not going to go through this whole thing, guys, but needless to say, a lot of California zip codes are up there, and so are Washington. A lot of money are in some of these zip codes in these states, okay, and whatnot. So the average home sales price is up 53% since 2019 across America. 53%. 53% since 2019 across America, guys. That is crazy. The average selling price for in the second quarter of this year was $683,000, an increase of almost 6% from the previous quarter, but a whopping 53% up since pre-pandemic sales figures, guys. So for all the people out there that are waiting for the housing market to crash and come down because affordability is high, by the way, no argument there. Affordability is high. It is tough to buy a house right now in America. But for all those people waiting in the last 2 years, and even this year, this is going to be the year for sure, right? The housing market across America went up 6% quarter over quarter. So that is a resilient housing market. And the guys, and you look at it and you go, why is this? Someone's cooking the books. Guys, it's simple supply and demand. We are undersupplied in America compared to household formation. And so therefore, you have more people looking to buy than houses available for them to purchase. And that's why you have a market that goes up in value. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to keep this train rolling. Okay, here we go. Valley City ranks number 1 in the U.S. places for small business. Number 1, guys, for small businesses. What Valley City is it? Drumroll, please. It is our beloved city of Scottsdale, Arizona. Gilbert comes in at number 19, but Scottsdale, number 1, guys, for small businesses. Number 1. This is pretty cool because a report found that Scottsdale, they had all these rankings, and Scottsdale comes in number 1 for the best environment for small businesses to be started and to flourish. Out of all cities in America, Scottsdale, number 1 for small businesses. That is really cool. Okay. And then let's look at the metrics that they actually used. Okay. Some of the metrics they used are these all right here. Okay. Unemployment rate, cost of living index, labor cost, GDP growth, self-employment, business owners and applications and co-working spaces density and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And you can see there's the list across America. Scottsdale, number 1, number 2, Miami, number 3, Atlanta, number 4, Orlando, number 5, Austin, Texas. All right. Share my screen again. Here are the Valley's highest priced luxury home sales so far in 2024, guys. Right now, the top 2 sold for $20.9 million and over $30 million so far in 2024. That's not too shabby. Okay. All right. By the way, if you want to know if you live in Arizona, are you a 1%er in terms of your earned income? Well, if you want to know, in Arizona, here are the stats. Here's what it takes to make it. This is interesting, I thought. Okay. Here we go. In Arizona, want to be top 1% earners, you'll need to make at least $611,353 a year. Okay. Per the nation, to be in the top 1%, you need to be at 699,008. So I thought it was kind of interesting, right? Top 1%, blah, blah, blah. If in Arizona, if you want to be in top 5%, you'd be at 237,000. And if you want to be in the top 10%, you had to be at 161,775. All of these have risen over the years, as you can imagine, because wage growth is increasing across the board. Inflation helps a lot of this out. Okay. But we don't like inflation. We want to get inflation down to 1% ideally, but the Fed's target 2%. Okay. 2%. All right. Almost done here, guys. There is some other development going on in Scottsdale, a lot of self-storage, a lot of industrial space is happening. out in the West Valley. And you have a lot of crazy fun stuff happening when it comes to development all across. These are just some of the buildings that are being built or being sold across the Phoenix area for major commercial deals. But buildings are selling and the economy is rocking and rolling. Okay, guys. The NAR lawsuit rocked the industry. It's now taking its toll on agents. This is just talking about how some of the agents now are looking to make a move out of the industry, which is probably good. Thinning the herd in this scenario, not a bad thing. And that's coming from an agent who's been doing this for 19 years here in the Phoenix area. 19 years, guys. And there's where they plan on going. Okay. And I think last but not least, 9 Arizona billionaires rank among the country's wealthiest. Who are they in Arizona? Well, number one, guys, is the majority shareholder in Carvana. Carvana, the vending machine company, to buy a car out of a vending machine. He is the richest guy that lives in Arizona at somewhere, I think, with $13 billion or something like that, right? Yep, $13 billion according to Forbes, doubling from $6.9 billion just 1 year ago. That's insane. But that's what's happening with inflation and all these things happening with wage growth on a lot of these CEOs and owners of these major companies across America. There's his son right there, who's also a billionaire. And then, of course, there's CrowdStrike and owner of U-Haul and so on and so forth. There's the owner of the Los Angeles Angels baseball team and so on and so forth, guys. So those are the billionaires. If you were curious, that is interesting to an extent, right? All right. We're going to finish this off with a couple stats here about the housing market. All right. The new home market, new home construction, rose to a strong 25.8% in September, down from 27.5% a year ago. Okay. New home market share. Prices bounced back a little compared with August. Okay. The combined peak remains at $490,000. So we remain at 3.7% below the level achieved in May of 2022 for the housing market. Okay. We're still 3.7% below where we were in mid 2022. So what does this mean? The general picture is of low volumes but stable pricing. The outlook is for volume to improve a bit, which we need. We need volume, right? Transaction count, and for prices to remain stable with a slightly downward tendency due to the slight excess of supply over demand. These numbers are for single family and townhouse and condo homes. Okay, guys. So there's a lot of stuff we covered today. The good news is Q4 is the best time, not my opinion, the best time, given the data, to buy a house, given the Arizona cycle of the housing market. Q4, and we're in it. We just started it. So if you have any questions about real estate, buying a home, selling a home, relocating, move up, move down, call me and my team. We love to chat with you at 480-660-5974. 480-660-5974. Guys, thank you as always for joining. I know your time is valuable, and I really appreciate you communicating and commenting and making this as much of a awesome YouTube channel as possible. Like us if you don't mind, and maybe even subscribe if you feel a little frisky. Click 2 buttons instead of just 1. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. And Phoenix, until next week, keep it classy.